everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. How was that full moon in Sag for you? Was it a good one? I hope so. I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. I'm excited to talk to you about the astro weather for the week of June 4th through the 11th, 2023. Do me a favor, if you're new to my channel, make sure you click the button below and you're subscribed. Give me a thumbs up and drop me a comment below and say hello. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. We got some stuff going on this week. There's stuff going on every week. But probably one of the bigger things is finally we're going to see Mercury come into conjunction with Uranus. That's actually taking place today. So if you're watching this on Sunday the 4th, lots of shocks and surprises, I'm assuming. And we're also going to be seeing a number of fixed squares. Midweek, we're going to see lots of lunar transits, which are going to activate the nodes. So we're going to see some of that kind of like bang up as the moon's going through Aquarius and also as it's going through the sign of Taurus, where it's coming into some friction with some other planets. So you're going to see opportunities where you might feel like you're at a crossroads. Obviously, when planets square the nodes, we kind of feel like there's fated things playing out in our life. But let's go ahead and dive right into it. Taking a look at June 4th, Sunday. Hello to all of my Sunday crew. It's nice to see you guys. So we wake up this morning, the moon's in Sagittarius. We're still kind of coming off of that full moon. Full moons hang around sometimes a day or two, so you still might be feeling it, especially because the moon's going to be making some aspects on her way out. She's continuing to move through Sag, and she's going to come into a square with Neptune. So you might feel a little hazy, a little dreamy, a little exhausted, a little tired. That's not unusual for the latter part of Sunday. But really for me, the big news is this Mercury-Uranus conjunction happening at 20 degrees of Taurus. So retrograde shadow is over, it's done. Now I think we start to kind of find out the shocks and surprises that were held back during the Mercury retrograde. So if you have any personal planets around 19, 20, 21 degrees of Taurus, it's especially important, but also the fixed signs, you guys are gonna feel that crunch. And what I like about Mercury-Uranus is that it gives us the opportunity to problem solve. There can be insightful conversations, bright ideas, moments of inspiration. Just take it easy on the caffeine today. We can be feeling a little frazzled. Certainly our nerves are a little shot when we have a Mercury-Uranus conjunction. It kind of feels like the last episode of a reality show and everybody's on edge, like wanting to find out what's going to happen. I'm anticipating, because it's at a 20 and it has a connection to Scorpio, secrets kind of coming up, inside information, leaks, exposés, the list goes on. And you don't have to wait for it to happen today. Actually, it's going to play out over several days. Mercury will cross Uranus early in the week. And I'm anticipating that when the moon's coming into Capricorn and starting to trine all of this, more will unfold. So something can be developing over the weekend, but early week we can see more information kind of, come into light. That's what Scorpio energy is about. It's about shining a light on in the dark, but Taurus is physical, tangible. And obviously we know Taurus deals with security, right? Things like food, resources, and also self-esteem, the way that we feel about ourselves, how we feel in our body. And Mercury in Taurus is slow. It takes time to really draw out the words and explain everything. But Uranus is quick. So there can be a sense of being like, yeah, it took a long time, but like here we are now. Now the situation is unfolding. And Uranus wants to innovate. It wants to change things up. We might notice there's some weird like internet things going on, electricity things going on, because Mercury can also be about systems and gadgets. So it's not unusual for things to kind of get zapped or fried. So I'm going to tell those of you guys who live in areas where you're having thunderstorms, just to be mindful that this can be a little bit of like a weird energy. You might want to make sure everything is unplugged, kind of safe and secure. In the background, because Venus is connected to Taurus and I'm watching Venus start coming into an opposition with Uranus, likely we're going to be hearing about things changing in relationships. Venus hitting 29 degrees is kind of that now or never. So we can be feeling like we're at a tipping point in some relationships within our domestic kind of home and family life. And Venus is then going to come into an opposition with Pluto. So there's definitely going to be a really interesting beginning of the Venus and Leo transit. It's kind of like Venus kicks the door in and has a showdown with Pluto. So those of you guys who are Venus and Pluto ruled, so Taurus and Libra and Scorpio, you guys are the ones who are going to be feeling this opposition the strongest. Definitely check out my Venus ingress into Leo. I take you guys through all of the transits. I talk about pretty much everything up to that 28 degrees in July when Venus turns retrograde. But this entire month, you know, we're going to start seeing stuff that's going to start getting kicked up from the shadow of the Venus retrograde. So that's pretty much it for today. Watch for those shocking, surprising things. I'm going to take you guys to the 5th. And before we even get into that, I want to talk to you about, we're still on Sunday. That's fine. I want to read you guys the Sabian symbol anyway for that Uranus conjunction. So, because it's going to happen at 20 degrees and change. We're going to be reading the Sabian symbol for 21 of Taurus. And it says, Taurus 21, a finger pointing to an open book. Keyword is confirmation. The theme is reconsideration. The symbol speaks to rectification, seeing things in a new way, correcting misconceptions, gaining insight into experiences that have been misrepresented or not fully understood or appreciated. The image of a finger pointing to an open book alludes to authority, guidance, instruction, the process of verifying information. It also emphasizes the importance of long-range planning and foresight. The implication here is that individuals tend to ignore whatever has no immediate relevance. On a practical level, the image can refer to literal need to go by the book or some important rule that has been broken and procedure that was not followed. The suggestion here is lack of sensitivity to higher laws can result in serious consequences. At its highest, the symbol represents self-discipline, good judgment, and remarkable ability to see the heart of any matter. Watch for rule-driven or rigid behavior and fear of making a mistake. The accent is on validation, rectification. Feeling things are not quite right may lead you to investigate and take corrective action. Your greatest advantage lies into paying attention or to the meaning and purpose of things. When in doubt, check things out or consult with a higher authority. Guard against taking things for granted, depending on others to take care of things, overlooking small details or the fine print that could be important. Stepping stones, guidance, authority, rules, going by the book, confirmation, verification, affirmation, validation, proof. Kind of reminds me of all this like misinformation stuff, right? I've had a lot of experience with this degree. So I've noticed the last couple of years when I'm having oppositions to my Scorpio placements, usually when there is a transit over this degree, I find myself going, I'm not going to assume I know what this means. I'm going to look it up in a book. It could be in the dictionary, it could be a reference book, it could be me going and looking at something in regards to astrology. Likely it has been because it's like an unusual progression or something that I know enough about, but not enough to be like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. And I'll literally go and reference a book. But I'm thinking in the back of my mind, because as we get into Monday, when the moon is going to be ingressing into Capricorn, we're going to see Monday and Tuesday, you know, that conjunction is still together, and then the moon's coming into a trine. Something that's come up recently in the news that I just saw, a random headline, I try not to watch the news, but that there is action that's being taken to go and investigate where some of this like military inflated prices are, you know, where the money is going for some of this like military, you know, complex in the United States. Millions upon millions of dollars of things that were budgeted that went missing, parts for aircraft and all kinds of other things for defense and military that can't be accounted for. So I'm starting to see headlines about things of that nature. I'm anticipating it could be something like that. I also feel like people looking deeper into, did we follow the rules? What could we have done differently? Where did we go wrong? And procedures, especially because Mercury is going to be in the sign of Taurus. Procedures revolving around money, banking, and whether or not we're following the rules when it comes to some of that stuff. Okay, so we wake up Monday morning, the moon's in Capricorn. This is a very getting down to business period. We are coming off of that Sunday night where we had the moon square Neptune, where we were feeling a little bit emotionally unsure. Maybe we were feeling like we were dreading, getting up in the morning on Monday, and also just feeling exhausted and feeling tired. I've heard a lot of people in the comments talking about this. I think it's been the number of squares to Saturn. And we're going to see a few more that's happening with Neptune. So get some extra sleep Sunday night. Make sure that you're resting and just feeling like you're, getting time to wind down before you're getting up in the morning on Monday. Because Monday is, I think, going to be a very productive day. Watching the moon go through Capricorn, we're picking up the energy of Saturn, and you'll see a nice sextile between the moon and Capricorn, which is emotionally taking care of business. In the world, you're going to hear for about a 3-day period more talk about government, because that's what Capricorn is, or authority figures, or things out in the media about power and authority type figures. The moon sextile Saturn makes me feel like it's doing some of this work, or getting things done, or taking responsibility with ease. And the moon generally is not as comfortable in Capricorn, but it's going to be making some nice trines to its own north node and to Jupiter. So moon trine Jupiter opens things up. It feels better emotionally, which is really helpful because in the background, the Venus-Pluto opposition is brewing. So as the moon is in a trine to the north node, we're kind of getting into alignment with what we need to do to feel secure, how we need to eat, how we need to budget, how we need to organize our day. It's very earthy, kind of grounded type of things, but still great for getting work done. At the same time, we're also going to be seeing, later in the day, the moon is, like I said, coming into a sextile with Saturn. And then it's going to also be picking up some energy where it's kind of getting into the later degrees. It won't quite trine Uranus until Tuesday. So it'll be a little bit longer. So let's take this through a little bit more. And it looks like the Venus-Pluto opposition is going to be happening sometime around kind of late morning, early afternoon, depending on where you are. So that will be at 0 degrees. Venus enters into the sign of Leo. It will spend 4 months there because in the end of July, it will retrograde. Venus rules beauty, relationships, harmony, socializing, art, all the good things, right? It's about pleasure. So Venus in Leo is very warm, and it's starting to come into this opposition with Pluto and squares with the nodes. So if you guys caught my video where I was talking about this transit, there are very significant, fateful events that are going to take place this week with relationships. Very significant, fateful events also in regards to creative projects, younger people, children. Venus oppositions and squares can quite literally be about a woman as well. It is moving through a masculine sign, and it's picking up energy from the sun in Gemini. But I feel like this is just more about love being a verb. It's something that we do. It's not just talking about it, it's taking the action, being bold, and really kind of standing out, right? Anytime you see oppositions between Leo and Aquarius, it's the individual versus the crowd. So much about personal style, personal pleasure, romance, desire. That's such a huge theme right now with Mars and Venus moving through the sign of Leo. Recently, we've seen Mars make the squares to the nodes, and that was more about fighting. And now we have, or conflict or intensity. And now we have Venus coming into the square, which is like, can we move forward with love? Can we fight for the things that we love? Can we make up? And it's going to be interesting to see because Venus has quite of an obstacle course ahead of her with a number of squares. So the opposition, to get it started with, is still also picking up this energy of the grand fixed cross. And when we have Venus in a square to the nodes, especially when she's like the north node ruler and connected to that Jupiter north node aspect, romance feels bigger, like it almost feels like there's more on the line, like there's more potentially to gain or there's more potentially to lose as well. So be very careful when it comes to taking chances with resources, taking chances and kind of gambling in relationships. Don't be willing to do anything that you feel like you potentially cannot undo. That's the advice that I would give you this week. So Venus is going to continue to keep moving through Leo. I'm assuming as soon as you hit that 29 degrees the day before, you're going to be feeling this. So it's already kind of starting today on Sunday with the intensity of Venus. So that opposition hits, not much else is going to be taking place. We're going to see the moon continue to keep going through Capricorn. It's going to start on the 6th, so this is going to be Tuesday. It's starting to now in the morning come into a trine with Uranus, and I have a feeling this is when we're going to start seeing more information about that Mercury-Uranus connection. So watch the news on the 6th because I think that this is like really going to be shining a light on where that Mercury-Uranus was digging up some kind of shocking news and information. The moon coming into a trine with Uranus is emotionally changing and transforming something about business, something about banking, something about government spending, government funding. We might hear some interesting like numbers coming out from tech companies and other big businesses. And then we're going to see the moon come into a trine with Mercury. So yeah, pretty much all afternoon on the 6th, there is likely going to be new information coming out. Now, here's what I like to just apply this to your real life. If you know you have to schedule a meeting this week, if you want to sit down with a team, if you want to talk about restructuring a budget, if you want to talk about bringing people together and using new software, changing schedules, team building exercises, if you want to do anything in regards to also brainstorming, I really recommend using the afternoon on the 6th. So that would be Tuesday for a productive day. You've got some really nice stuff that's on tap, especially because, you know, when the sun is going through Gemini, we want to be seeing what's going on with with Mercury. So it had the Uranus connection, and then this is the day that's kind of like, okay, how can we remedy it? At the same time, the moon is sextiling Neptune. So use visuals, use like not vision boards, but if you want a vision board, you can. Use like applications where everybody can make changes to like whiteboards, digital whiteboards, things like that. And other people can kind of contribute and they can all visually connect and see what you guys are going to be working on and doing. Also, if you are wanting to be gardening or organizing anything in regards to gardening, food, you know, plants, labeling things, this would be a wonderful time also to just kind of take stock of like what you have. Okay, so that's kind of the long and short of what we're going to be seeing on Tuesday, the moon trine Uranus. And that's going to hang around for a little bit. The last aspect it's going to make after the trine in the afternoon is it's going to start picking up the energy of coming into a sextile with Neptune. And that's going to be at night. Even though we have the moon in Capricorn, it does feel like we can rest. We've had a day where we've gotten a lot done. It does feel like there is room for inspiration, socializing, feeling a little bit more connected, and like a nice unwinding evening on the 6th after like quite a busy, productive day. This is where you want to make note that on Wednesday, the 7th, and Thursday, the 8th, things do get a little intense. So these are the 2 days that I think are going to be a little bit more challenging because we're going to see that we're just going to get hammered with a lunar transit. So we wake up in the morning on the 7th, which is Wednesday. And the moon is ingressing into Aquarius. So that conjunction is going to happen very early in the morning. We're talking like, 3, 4 a.m. on the West Coast, going into, 6, 7 a.m. on the East Coast. But still, if you're an early bird, you may catch some of this intensity. Moon Pluto is about emotional turbulence, breakdown, changes, challenges, transformations of the home. And it's really intense even into the morning because it's picking up still some of that energy with the opposition to Venus. And as we know, when we see the moon go through the fixed signs now, it's coming into square with North Node and South Node. So some of the emotional turbulence and changes or pressure that's going on early morning on Wednesday that's bringing about some kind of crisis definitely does affect our direction and where we're going. So if you find yourself waking up in the morning on Wednesday and you're like, why am I panicky? Why am I freaking out? Why am I feeling like the world is falling apart? Take a breath, breathe. Remember that we are in a huge transformational period right now. When planets conjunct Pluto and square the nodes, it means that we're kind of moving between past timelines and future timelines. I do think that even though it's going to be quick moving, you know, the moon moving away from Pluto, the opposition to Venus is like feeling like something is out of reach, longing for something that we cannot have. And so the moon in Aquarius is a little bit more detached, it's airy, it's cool. And Venus in Leo is like, oh, I just want this thing, I have to have it. So I could see some like cravings for relationships, cravings for romance, cravings for creativity, you know, time to be able to spend with our children or the people that we love. And it leaves us feeling like we're wanting more. Now that is going to be magnified because the moon is also in a square to Jupiter. So it's going to make things feel bigger. And it's still picking up the squares to the nodes. So, oh boy, I feel like that grand fixed cross setting up on Tuesday morning is a little intense. Wednesday morning is a little intense. And you know, how do we explain this other than the fact that things are changing? Now, if you happen to have any planets right around, let's say 0 to 5, 6 degrees of the fixed signs, you're going to feel the crunch. There might be like a domino effect where something's happening in one area of your life and it's triggering something in the other areas. The moon does trigger events, so you want to go and look at Aquarius in your chart and just know that on Wednesday and Thursday there's stuff going on that's kind of breaking down in Aquarius, that's pushing you to reach for more in Leo. Yeah, fateful things happening, a very, very fateful day with some of these grand crosses, you know, what's breaking down and changing and how it makes us realize that we got to go deeper into what we do love, what we do create, what we do want. And drama. I don't like saying that, but I definitely feel like there's going to be some drama going here because it's still also picking up the energy of Uranus, right? And now we've got Jupiter and Uranus in the same sign. So the moon's going to keep moving on Wednesday through Aquarius, and it's going to reach an opposition to Mars, which feels more argumentative, confrontational, kind of irritated in the PM hours. So 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m., we see that moon oppose Mars where there seems to be some really strong emotional reactions to things that have happened earlier in the day. So this is not the kind of situation where you can have like a minor tiff with somebody and go, let's just talk about it later. Because talking about it later at night or over dinner most likely will not go well. We want to allow things to kind of settle a little bit. Let's wait until maybe we get, you know, the moon out of a square with Uranus, at least out of an opposition with Pluto. So that fateful day is happening all day Wednesday. We get to Thursday the 8th. We wake up in the morning and the moon is still in Aquarius. And now we're starting to feel the moon in Aquarius coming into a square with Uranus. So emotionally, a little bit of turbulence, feeling a little bit discombobulated. Even in spite of that, I'm really liking the fact that the sun and the moon are going to trine. So we've got the moon in Aquarius, social, scientific. It is more connected with the masses. It's more about the future. It's wanting some kind of freedom. And it has that outlet where it's going to trine at 17 degrees to the sun in Gemini. This is a day where I feel like we have room to share, explore, detach a little bit, you know, be more kind of out on our own and not feeling like we need to get kind of caught up in some of the mess that's going on in the world. Air trines are about information. It can be a time where there is a lot of sharing. It can be a time where there is a little bit of kind of like fluttering around. We're in that sweet spot where the sun is no longer square Saturn, but it has yet to square Neptune. So I actually really like this trine. It does make things easier, even in spite of the fact that the moon's going to square Uranus and that it's going to square Mercury later in the day. So we keep moving throughout the 8th. We're going to feel that trine for a little bit. In the afternoon around lunchtime, the moon's going to square Uranus at a 20. Still change and transformation, shocks and surprises. And then we are going to see in the PM hours, then the moon is going to come into a square with Mercury. So a little bit more difficult, once again, you know, Thursday night, expressing our emotions, our feelings, something feeling disjointed. When we have fixed squares, there's something not connecting. So, you know, Mercury in Taurus wants to take its time in expressing itself and sharing ideas, and the moon in Aquarius is closing in on Mercury, saying like, I don't agree, you know, it's not the right time, we have different schedules. So things feel a little disjointed when it comes to connecting with people socially. That's just kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And then we're also going to be seeing, going into the, let's see, the 9th, so this is going to be Friday, that Venus is coming into, or has been, you're going to see this on the 8th and the 9th, Venus in a square to the nodes. So you're going to see this on the 8th, going into the 9th, Venus square the nodes. So pay attention to what's going on Wednesday, Thursday. You know, you might feel like certain relationships is kind of like on the line. I would say that anyway with Venus opposed Pluto, but Venus then square the nodes is sometimes fateful people come into your life, right? Sometimes people who you're meant to collaborate with, you're meant to be with, you're meant to work with, you're meant to talk to, come in, and I think in the sign of Leo, inspiring creative voices. People who are very proud of what they create and proud of being different, because it's picking up this energy of the Jupiter Uranus. And so you're going to notice that the people who are going against the grain are getting a lot of attention, but they're getting a lot of attention because they're going against the grain. And I guess this might be a week where sometimes, you know, bad exposure is good exposure. If you're kind of making waves and standing up for something that may not necessarily be popular, it might get you noticed. Okay, I'm not giving you guys the green light to be troublemakers, but something about this square does make me feel like those who are going to be standing up and really speaking from the heart are the ones that are going to have their moment. Watch for those significant relationships that could drop in. I'm especially thinking that because Venus is going to continue to move through Leo, and it will eventually hit a 5 and it'll square Jupiter the very next day. But before I get to that, the Mercury in Taurus sextile Neptune on the 9th, right here, also feels kind of like inspiring. Like that's a Gemini degree at 27. So there's something about like the moon coming into Pisces, conjuncting Saturn, serious, reflecting, meditating, you know, really kind of stepping back, asking yourself, am I listening to my higher self? Do I need more time alone? Do I need to be in nature? Do I need more rest? Moon Saturn is serious energy. It's heavy, right? But what's been nice is with these Moon Saturn connections, for the time being, it's trining the South Node and it's sextiling the North Node. So I personally have been trying to get in the habit when the moon's in Pisces, that 2.5 day period, when moon is conjunct Saturn, okay, I need time alone. I need to reflect. I need to rest. I need to meditate. Then when the moon is in between Saturn coming into conjunction with Neptune, really reevaluating, what did I get out of this? Do I feel better? Do I feel energetically drained still? What dream did I have? What intuitive hunch did I have? Did I pull my tarot cards for the day? It sounds silly, but Saturn and Neptune being in the same sign, especially getting ready to go retrograde later this month, I think it's going to have a lot of us kind of questioning, where are the cracks? Like, what's getting through that I'm not seeing? And where am I not doing my Saturn work? And some of us are going to feel like we're leaning into Neptune, where we're kind of avoiding, we're not wanting to acknowledge, we're not kind of responding to things or responding to people. Some of us are going to be really on top of our Saturn game. So we're not going to know until that retrograde happens. But I encourage you to work with this trine from the moon and Saturn to the South Node, because there is something that we're emotionally clearing. And the sextile that we're going to get to the North Node in Jupiter is going to help us feel more solid and grounded in our body. So we really do need rest on Friday. We can't overdo it. And then we're picking up the Mercury sextile Neptune, which I feel like is inspiring. I have loved some of these sextiles because I feel like the inspiration, the direction, the downloads that we have, the messages that we have really kind of gives us the blueprints for Mercury or other planets in Taurus to start building the work. And I love these particular days to just sit down and create, to start organizing and putting things together that I want to be building or that I want to be designing, and then letting it kind of come into its own. And generally when I see this, the Mercury in Taurus or a planet in Taurus, it will build itself. So great day for vision boarding, collaging, you know, painting, creating. I think it's really going to be all weekend. Friday, Saturday, going into Sunday, you're going to see this aspect. Now you're going to start feeling Venus coming into the square with Jupiter, although that's not going to be taking place until a little bit later down the road. So we're going to see on the 10th, which is going to be Saturday. That's when the moon is going to come into a square with the sun. So that's a little funky, okay? Saturday plans most likely will not go according to plan. I would say that with a mutable square anyway, but when the sun and the moon square, things feel like they're kind of discombobulated and they're out of order. This is also the 3/4 square, so we're getting ready to have a new moon in Gemini soon, and the truth is that it's going to be a little confusing. We're going to see a sun moon that's going to square Neptune. So I think we're starting to pull some of this energy here where the sun is, the moon is between Saturn, which is committed, and Neptune, which wants to hide, and it's squaring the sun. First of all, make sure your phones are on. People will miss phone calls, miss text messages, miss emails, miscommunications and plans. I thought you were going to be here at this time. No, you didn't call me back. Well, I was waiting for you type of vibe, because we're seeing this in signs that deal with communication. And oh, I hit snooze, I overslept, I lost my phone, I wasn't feeling it, I needed some time. So people are going to be maybe a little more temperamental than usual, a little bit more kind of in a daze than usual. And yeah, when the sun and the moon square, there's something that's disjointed about our conscious and subconscious self. And then the kind of 3/4 square is when we're kind of clearing things out and preparing for that new moon phase. So you're going to see that square. And then Venus is going to keep moving through Leo. We're going to see the square start to kind of get picked up on the 10th in the evening. So this is going to be on Saturday. I feel like this could definitely, with the moon and Neptune, be like fantasy and drinking and partying and like drugging, and like that's sometimes what people do when the moon is conjunct Neptune. And then we see Venus that's in a square to Jupiter. So overdoing it is a theme on Saturday. Over drinking, over partying, over spending, over romancing, type of vibe. Be very careful, especially with like driving, traveling, visibility, like weather related issues, right? Especially because these are stormy signs when they square. So I'm kind of feeling like there could be water issues, emotional issues, you know, issues involving travel and gadgets and getting around and communication. And then we've got, you know, Venus square Jupiter, which can be extra sweet, extra romantic, but extra dramatic, right? People really dramatic about, you know, misinterpreting things or misunderstanding things or, you know, taking things out of context. And then we can have some kind of blow up situations in relationships. So then we're going to be seeing also on the 10th, Mercury is going to be entering into, I guess technically the 11th, I take that back. Mercury is going to be entering into Gemini, its home sign, 0 degrees. And then we're also going to be seeing Pluto drop back down into 29 degrees of Capricorn. Interesting. So, you know, they're in a trine, right? As Mercury is changing signs, Pluto changes signs. I'm not crazy about seeing that Pluto retrograde back into Capricorn. I think that that in itself is like a whole other video that I'm putting together for you guys. I did touch on it on the horoscopes. To put it very simply, Pluto's going back into a house where there is more work to do. And it's going to feel like heavy lifting. So just reference when Pluto was in the late degrees of Capricorn here, you know, March, April, right? And then it made its ingress into Aquarius. Cardinal signs are active. So things are initiated with cardinal signs. Retrogrades, things are still kind of hidden. The truth is like, man, June through August, it's like we crank the pressure up because now we're really starting to feel the North and the South node coming into a square with Pluto. So I'm gonna talk about that in this next week for you guys. But yeah, if you're a cardinal sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising, 27 to 29 degrees, Pluto is back. What's going to be interesting is that, you know, it's with a Mercury trine Pluto. So there is some deep conversation, deep opportunity for sharing, connecting, for like exchanging, right? For being able to uncover secrets, being able to get to the depth of conversations. And then we're going to see the moon and Neptune come together in sextile Pluto. So, ooh, that's some interesting energy to see so many planets in the late degrees of the of these signs. There's big global events that are usually brewing when that stuff is going on. And the moon, Neptune, is very spiritual psychic, but it can also be like paranoid and hidden and things going on behind the scenes in private spaces and stuff that's intentionally being concealed. So here we are on the 11th. This is now Sunday, and we're going to see officially the exact Venus-Jupiter square happen, 5 degrees, which is a Leo degree. It's like drama and sparkles and pizzazz. So still in Sunday, we're probably feeling like, oh my God, I spent how much at the bar? Or, you know, we went and did what last night? Or, you know, maybe coming down off of the super, you know, romantic weekend. But I do feel like this can also be this heart opening, you know, opportunity. Having Mars and Venus moving through this sign does make people feel more romantic, more open, more lively. They really want to just kind of show other people how they're feeling. And now we've got Sun and Mercury hanging out in Gemini. So it's really chatty, really busy. Stuff's kind of like buzzing. Pluto's back in Capricorn. Oh boy. And then as we take this throughout the day, you're going to see in the morning, the moon is going to ingress into Aries. Very different vibe. It's like we're up, we're moving around, we're doing stuff on Sunday. And it's going to be nice to see like the moon start coming into a trine with Venus and Mars. So I feel like a lot of people might have like a really busy Saturday night, and it kind of takes a little bit of time getting up in the morning on Sunday and kind of just easing into it. And then people with that moon in Aries might be like, okay, cool, I'm going to go and do my own thing. I'll see you later, you know, and just everybody's off going and wanting to create or work out or be active. And like, they're going to have their own things that they want to kind of get done on Sunday. Am I missing anything? No, I don't think I'm missing anything. So, you know, that's the long and short of the week ahead. I'll be talking to you guys about, like I said, this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, what it means. I'm going to show you guys some time periods when we had recently, the last couple of years, planets at 29 degrees and some things that I observed that took place. We're going to touch on what we need to be working on. And I'm also going to start talking to you guys about like the Saturn retrograde and how to work with the Saturn retrograde in aspect to the sextile with Jupiter, and where there is opportunities for commitment and reevaluating our commitments, and opportunities for stable, supported growth. Really nice aspect to see in the midst of what's been several years where we haven't really had harmony between Saturn and Jupiter, and now we're finally starting to see that. All right, so that's it for me for the week. I will be back here doing videos for you guys on Tuesday and Thursday. I also just want to give you guys a reminder. I am going to be having my webinar on June the 11th. It's going to be at 10 p.m. Excuse me, I always say that, 10 a.m. Pacific time, and it's going to be noon Central time and 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm doing it a whole 2 months early before the Venus retrograde, really even before the shadow is starting to set in. If you guys want to learn more about the Venus retrograde and join me for a live webinar, check out the links below. You guys can follow me and come and hang out. There's going to be a bunch of people who are going to be there live. I'm going to talk about the transit, my world predictions, and how it's going to affect the 12 signs. I'm also giving all kinds of remedies and recommendations, specific dates to work with during the retrograde, and some tricks for working with the retrograde energy and kind of untangling karmic relationships and setting ourselves up for new romantic partners, if that's something that you guys are looking for. So I'm excited to kind of add some extra magical things to that. We have limited seats, so if you guys want to pick up your tickets, please do, because we're already kind of, I think we're getting close to selling out. So at some point this week, we might close it. We'll see. All right, so if you guys like my content, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you click that button below. Some of you guys get unsubscribed. And if you want to connect with me, follow me on my social media. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter. And also check out my website if you would like to take a course or book a personal reading with me at beyondtheveiltarot.com. That's it. You guys enjoy the week, and I'll see you back here on Tuesday. Take care.